Well, hello and happy Wednesday. It is A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, where I take you through and talk about 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 p.m. newscast. If you're watching right now, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream page, I want to, of course, thank you for tuning in to today's Before the Four. How are we feeling this Wednesday? That is what I want to know. Feel free to leave a comment with your answer. I can see so if you do right here. But anyway, with all of that said, I think it is now time we dive into today's top stories. And starting things off in Tuscumbia, 48's Aria Pons today will be bringing you all a story on a recent car dealership burglary. Now, investigators in Tuscumbia are currently searching for 3 different suspects who they say broke into a car dealership and drove away in vehicles totaling more than $225,000. Police Chief Tony Logan says 3 vehicles were stolen from Long Lewis Chevrolet early Monday morning. Logan also said surveillance footage showed the burglars breaking into the garage area of the dealership around 2 a.m. before ultimately breaking a window to get to the key and cash boxes. Authorities say the suspects drove away in a brand new Chevy Camaro and 2 Chevy Tahoes, and that they also stole over $700 from the cash box. And 48's Aria Pons is covering this story today, so make sure you stick around for the latest Aria will have on it coming up. In Huntsville, after more than a day of deliberating, a jury has brought back a verdict for a man on trial for a deadly shooting. Patrick Terry, who you are currently seeing on screen, was found guilty of criminal negligent homicide stemming from a 2019 fatal shooting which killed Anthony Fairley. During the trial, 6 witnesses were called to the stand. Testimony revealed Terry and Fairley were in fact in a fight before the shooting began. Reports also showed Fairley had drugs and alcohol in his system at the time. 48 News was told Terry's sentence is time he's already served in jail, meaning he is walking out a free man today. Now, in case you missed it, recently a hate group in Decatur sprayed graffiti on a wall near a set of train tracks. A different group held up this banner this week stating that white men built our city and white men will save our city. Yesterday, 48's Matthew King went out to Decatur to speak with local officials and protesters their thoughts on the current state of the city. Matthew King has the story.
It was alarming.
Morgan County NAACP President Rodney Gordon wasn't happy to see this graffiti near a set of train tracks in Decatur. It says, quote, "We dare to defend our rights," with a link to the Patriot Front's website. The group is recognized as a hate group by organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center.
If we're healing, okay? We're trying to regroup, rebuild, recharge. That's regress.
This comes just a day after the city council denounced the wording of a banner hung from a local overpass promoting a different group they called racist and white nationalist. Some residents are worried this is becoming a trend.
After we do this, they're gonna do it somewhere else. You know, they put the banner up, they did this. We'll probably find something else that they already did. We just don't know they did it.
City council members Billy Jackson and Hunter Pepper were among those cleaning up the graffiti late Monday night. Jackson says they shouldn't have to do this though, and he blames inaction from the city encouraging white supremacist groups.
What we've got to do now is we've got to take positions where we're doing things to address what's going on in our community. If we don't, this is going to continue to happen. It's going to get more broad. It's going to become more common in our city. So I think it's important that we address these things.
Councilman Hunter Pepper agrees, calling for the most action possible from police. He says that action should include investigation and prosecution.
There's got to be something in place. And if there's not something in place, then we need to reach out to our federal delegation, our state delegation, and get them on board with getting something done about this.
Well, thank you, Matthew. And later on last night, Decatur Police Chief Todd Pinion released a new executive plan for the city of Decatur in order to, quote unquote, strengthen the trust and relationships within the community. The executive plan comes with tension surrounding the Decatur Police Department and its citizens. Stick around for what's all in the plan coming up from 48's Matthew King today at 4. And now another story for you all. In Madison County, the Harvest Monrovia Water and Sewer Authority is asking water customers to voluntarily conserve water until further notice. The advisory was announced this morning, and officials say it's necessary due to high water consumption from watering lawns, causing the authority's water supply to decrease. Officials say the authority has a 4-level conservation plan. Currently, it is on level 2. 48's Callie Neese will be reporting on this story today, so make sure you stick around for more details Callie will have coming up at 4. And now in Marshall County, today school officials announced that Brindley Mountain High School assistant principal Bir Balu has passed away. Now, Principal Terry Allen stated this morning that Balu was a good man and important to the personal and educational foundation to the community. Marshall County Superintendent Dr. Cindy Wigley released this statement today following today's sad news. Officials did not release a cause of death, and 48 Savannah Sapp will be bringing you all updates on this very tragic situation coming up at 4. Now, another story you may have missed. More than 3,000 registered voters in Alabama were recently booted off state voter polls after Secretary of State Wes Allen ordered the removal of all non-citizens who were registered. 48's Nick Ballinger yesterday spoke with Allen, and let's take a listen to what he had to say about the entire situation.
This is a list from Secretary of State Wes Allen of how many non-citizens were registered to vote in our counties. The state found 3,251 people. 742 of them were from North Alabama.
We got the information. We cross-checked it against our centralized data file here in the state of Alabama and found those 3,200 individuals.
The information he's talking about are people with alien registration numbers. Those are issued to immigrants who intend to live in this country permanently and have already applied for a green card. However, you're not eligible to vote with just an alien identification number. When I asked Allen how 3,000 plus were able to register in the first place, he couldn't give me the answer.
But it's our belief that only American citizens should be allowed to vote. Non-citizens, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants, cannot register to vote. It's a federal offense.
To vote here in Alabama, you need one of these things: a driver's license, a passport, a voter photo ID, or any other type of photo ID. But Mike Nicholson with the voters' right group Alabama Arise is now questioning the state system as a whole.
It just leaves me with questions. How could that many people supposedly have registered to vote when you need a photo ID or a social security number? There's all these barriers that are in place that we know wouldn't allow that to happen. So I would definitely urge the Secretary of State to be more transparent with that, because we know that in other states, similar actions have purged real voters from the polls.
Allen did acknowledge that some people on the list may have already become naturalized citizens and are now eligible to vote. Those individuals will regain their registration and right to vote.
Thank you, Nick. Now in Grant, where Mayor Larry Walker is pleading for more volunteer firefighters. After a microburst swept through the area on August 2nd, a microburst that in fact knocked down several trees and power lines, cleanup was still ongoing until Monday of this week. Grant Mayor Larry Walker said the microburst served as a wake-up call to city officials about the need for more volunteers. He stated, quote, "I and everyone else here knows that being a volunteer fireman is a job with a lot of responsibility and hard work, but we encourage anyone who is interested to pick up an application," end quote. Thankfully, no one was severely injured in the microburst. Now, let us talk about some things happening this weekend here in Huntsville. If you're a fan of soccer, Star Wars, or both, you are certainly in luck. Star Wars Night is coming to Wicks Family Field at Joe Davis Stadium for Huntsville City FC's match against the New York Red Bull second team. Today, I got the chance to speak with HCFC Managing Director of Business Operations. His name was Chad Emerson. And let's take a listen to what Chad had to say about this super awesome event. First, talk a little bit about Star Wars. What is it about Star Wars that just attracts so many people?
Oh my, I just remember when I was a kid, I was born in 1972. It's one of the first movies I remember going to see at the theater with the scroll and a galaxy far, far away. So I think it's covers so many generations with the new material as well as the original movies that I just feel like when someone comes to Star Wars night, it could be a grandparent, a parent, or a kiddo, and they all have a Star Wars memory.
That is very true. It just lives throughout the generations, which is...
Yeah, this is actually our very first Star Wars night. This year we talk about, in addition to the excitement of a soccer match, what else can we do to draw fans that they're going to connect with the experience? And Star Wars was one of those opportunities. So, while the players won't be using lightsabers, obviously, we're still going to have a lot of elements of Star Wars, whether it be music, whether it be visuals on the Jumbotron. There may be even there will be some characters there, encouraging fans to dress up. So we really want them to enjoy the match. We got our fingers crossed that the boys in blue win again. But regardless of what happens, they've had an opportunity an evening to enjoy and relive their Star Wars memories.
Very, very cool. Super awesome stuff going on. So make sure, if you're a fan of soccer, and especially if you're a fan of Star Wars, make sure you dress up in your favorite character. Yeah, it seems like an awesome time. And also, I just saw Roberta Smart. She said, "Good evening, everyone." Good evening, Roberta. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for commenting. But yes, Star Wars night. Now, another thing going on this weekend, this one is out in the Shoals, the 43rd Annual Franklin County Watermelon Festival in Russellville. After all, it is the watermelon capital of the state. Yesterday, I spoke with Cassie Medley. She is the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. Let's take a listen to what she had to say about some of the musicians you can expect to hear this weekend. Let's take a listen.
Too, and I didn't mention about Saturday's entertainment. So at 6 o'clock on Saturday evening, we will have Rewind of the Shoals, and then at 7, Austin Bohannon, and at 8:30, Colin Stow. And if that name sounds familiar, he was on American Idol last season and was number 3. And he's from Mississippi, just not very far away from us.
Very cool. Yeah, I know that area has a very rich history of fostering amazing musicians. That is also super cool. But
yes, absolutely. And I love that sometimes our bands, they have local ties. Some of them are teachers within the county or have grown up in our schools. And so our work here, and I love that connection. And we are very blessed with talent from every genre, and a lot of talented vocalists as well as instrumentalists. We are truly blessed in this area with wonderful talent.
Indeed, it sounds like it is going to be an awesome time. So make sure you all head on out to the Franklin County Watermelon Festival this weekend. Also, you can find both of those 48 Now interviews on our website. Just go to WAFF.com, go to digital shows and the 48 Now section of digital shows. And I also saw Dawn Marie commented. She said, "Good afternoon from Madison." Good afternoon, Dawn. How are you doing today? Hopefully pretty swell this Wednesday afternoon. But we just talked about watermelons. Now let's stay on the topic of tasty foods. Here's another story for you. It is a treat that is colorful, crunchy, and sweet. The perfect recipe for going viral on TikTok. But local doctors, when trying to make it yourself, could mean a trip from the kitchen to the ER. Anika Hope shares why. Let's take a listen.
My photographer and I searched Boston for it. Turns out this traditional Chinese snack is not that easy to find. No wonder TikTok is obsessed with how to make tengulu, skewers of bright, fresh fruit coated in glassy, crystallized sugar. But what makes it stunning can make it dangerous as a DIY project.
Molten sugar has a very high heat capacitance and it holds a lot of energy.
Shriners Children's Boston issued a warning for parents after staff surgeon Colleen Ryan says she and her colleagues around the world saw an uptick in children and teens with severe burns. She says patients pointed to mishaps from the viral trend.
In fact, in Australia, they said for the last 3 months, they've seen 15 of them, and 5 of them even required skin grafts. In fact, I saw one yesterday.
Ryan says any recipe's hot liquid can melt containers and splash onto your face, hands, or arms, but syrupy sugar has sticking power.
These scars are deep. They're uncomfortable. They can cause problems with mobility and problems with appearance. They need treatment, probably for the rest of your life.
Ryan says in the case of a burn, quickly and carefully get the hot substance off. Separate clothing from skin, cool with water for 20 minutes, and do not apply ice. No frozen veggies either.
Oftentimes, if you put the frozen peas directly on the skin, you can actually have a frostbite injury on top of the burn.
Well, thank you, Anika. Now in sports. When a statue of Jackie Robinson was stolen, it took an amazing effort to bring the baseball great back. NBC's Morgan Chesky was there for the monumental return. Let's take a listen.
They arrived in their game day best, players welcoming another back home.
We know that out of darkness comes light.
Which is why Renee Alexander brought twins A.J. and Aisley back to their League 42 ballpark.
I said, hey, you guys want to go see the new statue being revealed? And they said, yeah, and went crazy.
It was January when the league's beloved Jackie Robinson statue was stolen. The crime even caught on surveillance video.
You see that surveillance video, someone taking him away.
I was like, was it because of race? Was it because of hatred?
The man who confessed blamed drugs, and when sentenced to prison for theft and other crimes, apologized.
I'm sorry.
Over the last 6 months, donations allowed for an exact replica, crafted in Colorado, then carefully packed, to finally return to Wichita for a homecoming fit for a Hall of Famer.
1, 2, 3, go!
A monumental moment where Robinson's legacy looms large.
If it wasn't for League 42, a lot of the kids in this community probably wouldn't even be playing baseball.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Including Jason Dennis's own son, Jackson.
I like how they put Jackie Robinson there because he's my favorite player.
Really? Of all time? When you walk past that statue next season, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm going to hit a home run.
Inspiration from a player and man. Proving barriers were made to be broken.
I think it gives this generation hope that they too can do anything if they put their mind to it.
Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Wichita, Kansas.
Thank you, Morgan. Now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscast. Hurricane Ernesto, the latest on the tropical storm, which was recently named a hurricane, coming up. A local nonprofit in the Shoals donating to help repair Spring Park waterfall. Get that story, and another story you're just not going to want to miss. A story about a children's book based on a local girl. These are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscast. And you're also not going to want to miss the latest forecast from First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis, so you can stay in the know of how the weather will look like heading into the weekend. The heat index is currently looking over 100 degrees on Friday, and it will be a First Alert weather day for that day as potential storms are looking like they're moving in. But again, make sure you stick around for the latest Brad will have for you all coming up. Now, of course, it is time for my favorite part of Before the Four. And if you're new to Before the Four, you are in for a treat. This is a little segment we like to call Facebook Fun. So every single day, the 48 Facebook page Usually it's around midday. We will ask a question on Facebook, and you all typically fire back with some pretty incredible responses. You all typically make it really hard for me to choose some of my favorites. A lot of times I wish I could just make the entire Before the Four just y'all's comments, because they are typically all super, super good. But our question today was, what is one thing on your bucket list you want to get ticked off this year? It's already over halfway. We're already halfway done with 2024, a few months past being halfway done with 2024, which is insane. So time's a ticking. So what is something you want ticked off of your bucket list by the end of the year? And let's see what you all had to say. Jan said she is an older widow lady. She's wanted to go to Dollywood since it was built, and actually her son, daughter-in-law, and grandkids made that happen this year. I am overjoyed. They are so good to me. Aw, Jan, that is super sweet. Have an amazing time at Dollywood. I hope you have the time of your life. Enjoy it. It's super beautiful up there, especially that time of the year. Especially like in the fall. That is a super pretty time of the year. But Jen, enjoy your trip. Thank you for commenting. Michelle Johnson said going tent camping and trout fishing. She's going to do both this fall. Very fun. I hope you enjoy it, Michelle. Yes, enjoy your camping and fishing trip. That is awesome. Thank you for commenting. And Steve, he said to live and let live. You know, it's simple, but it's so deep. Just live and let live. That is a great way to look at life. And Steve, you know, thank you so much for commenting. We greatly appreciate it. Let's see, no one else commented, just Dawn and Roberta. Well, good evening to you all. Welcome to Before the Four. But that just about does it for today's Before the Four. I want to thank you all for sticking around and spending a little of your Wednesday afternoon with me here on Facebook, YouTube, 48 Now, wherever you're watching this right now. Yeah, thank you for sticking around with me. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 Digital app, the 48 First Alert Weather app, and the 48 Sport Zone app. For any of my sport fans out there, the Friday Night Lights, we're just a few weeks away from some awesome high school football. But until then, I hope you all have a great night. Enjoy tonight's newscast. Do something fun tonight. But with that said, I want to, of course, thank you for watching, and you all have a great night.